you doing? I've been just fine, living life with a noose and in my mind, all I hear is music. Watching your mouth move, damn you look stupid. I feel like everyone's a stranger. Small talk with your narcissistic neighbor. She's real hot, but they say to never date her. Ha, I agree, but you did it and I hate her. You wanna get away? You better get in line. Won't go another day of wasting any time. I've got a lot to say, can't hold it in this time. Got no filter, I got no filter. 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 Hey man, can I get a favor? Yeah, sure, hot, no, see you later. Sometimes I just wanna be a hater. Gotta wash down the top 40s with a chaser. Your voice starts feeling like a waiter. Scraping my mind against your cheese grater. Before you go, sir, you have to sign a waiver. That's alright, I'm aware of the danger. You wanna get away? You better get in line. Won't go another day of wasting any time. I've got a lot to say, can't hold it in this time. Got no filter, I got no filter. 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 No filter, I got no filter.
Hello, my lovelies. Truth and Dizzle. How are you? Hey, Roth.
Hello.
Everybody, Roth will from now on, be my co-host over here at the Lakea Show.
I'm just as surprised as everyone else is.
So I needed a co-host, and I thought Roth would be an excellent candidate. He's got all the information. He knows about a multitude of topics. So I thought he would be awesome to be a co-host.
Thank you.
Now, we will get into Samhain in just a moment, but let me add, I'm still in a rehab facility. Yes, I had both of my legs amputated, unfortunately, due to blood clots, and I'm on the mend, so I'm not up to par yet. And if you hear background noise, I have a roommate. I also have a TV going. I have a back bump going on my leg, and nurses will be in and out of my room. So all I ask is that you bear with us, because this is the best I can do under the circumstances. And if you notice, my voice is a little gruff. Well, it's been this way for over a month now since my surgery, and something happened and it messed up my voice, and it has yet to return to normal. And now sometimes I'm also out of breath really easily since surgery. So that's another thing that's happening. But it is so good to see everybody. Bama, it's good to see you. And like I said, Truth, Dizzle, good to see y'all. And everybody else that's listening, wonderful to see you. Now, Roth, did you have a good Samhain?
Mine was eventful, but I would call it okay. It was okay.
Yeah, I didn't get to do anything really here in the rehab facility except for they had a Halloween party.
That was cool.
And that's what I thought. And we had, the theme was orange.
Hmm.
And so we had like orange Cheetos, orange cookies, orange punch, orange plates, orange napkins. It was really cool. And I got to sit at a table with a elderly gentleman and an elderly lady, and who didn't really talk that much,
Hmm.
but just the way they carried themselves, you could tell that they had a lot of class to them, a lot of we've been here a while, we know what we're doing, type of thing. So it was awesome sitting with them because the air at the table was just, it was different. It was really different. Um, Emma said he called off work, did laundry, and is just chilling.
Nice.
But our Samhain, like I said, I didn't get to do very much, but have a Halloween party, and then I had, of course, a pain pill from
Yeah.
being. I was up in the wheelchair. They use this thing. I call it the spider, but it's a lift with a net, and they put you in this net and lift you up out of bed, and will sit you down in a wheelchair. And I call this thing the spider, like I said. And they lifted me up in it and, put me in my wheelchair and took me around the facility and down to the dining room where the party was.
Hmm.
And I was, I guess, on my legs too long, like the sitting up, the pressure on my legs, or my stumps, as I should say. And, hey, Titan, how are you? And I guess I was just up too long on my stump. And by the time I got back to the room, I was ready to get back in bed. I was like, I'm done. I'm spent.
Understood.
I'm ready to get back in bed. And so they put me back in bed, gave me a pain pill. And at first, I thought it wasn't working at all. I was like, oh, this ain't going to work. I'm going to be hurting for a while, blah, blah, blah. Oh, no, it worked. It worked a little too well because me and Roth were supposed to do a stream last night. And it worked so well. I went to another stream, said, hey, how are you? And then passed out.
Yeah,
Clinically.
they gave her the strong pill that time.
Oh, yeah. It was, like I said, at first, I didn't think it was going to work. I was dreading it. I was like, oh, this ain't going to work. I'm going to be hurting. And next thing I know, I'm waking up and it's 4:30 in the morning.
Hmm.
So, you know, okay, let's see. I'm doing all right. How are you doing, Lakaya? Tight mask. Well, I'm doing great. I I still have a vac pack on my right leg, which means it's basically a mini vacuum cleaner. That is a tube that is suctioning any infection. It keeps the blood circulating and all that good jazz. And it's shrinking the wound of where they cut my leg off. And it's shrinking it down until, I'm able to get it, stapled or sewed back together. So I have that on my right leg. And then on my left leg, I have staples. But unfortunately, a nurse at one of the facilities I was at, because I've been at a bunch, threw me in my bed and I hit the side of the railing,
That's not
and
right.
and it busted it back open. And we did not know it had busted my leg open where the staples were, and it has set up some necrotic tissue. So what I'm going to have to do is pretty much go back to the surgeon, hopefully cross my fingers they'll put me under, him scrape the necrotic tissue off where it busted open, and then pull the staples out because the staples have been in for a while. So that's what I'm hoping happens. Hey, Wig, where are you? But hopefully that's what happens, and it'll all be good. And then I will get to finish learning. Basically, it's basically how to use a wheelchair, how to balance in it because I don't have legs, so it's easy to topple over. And I tend to fall backwards instead of forwards, but I can fall forward. Um, I've got to learn how to do that, and I've got to learn how to use a board to slide myself into a wheelchair. And hopefully, once I get all of those learned, I will be able to finally go home.
Because yeah, I'm sure most people here understand that it's a completely different process than how someone else with, even if they have paralyzed in any way on their legs, it's a completely different process getting in and out, because even if your legs don't work, if you have legs, there's still that counterweight that you can rely on. But when you don't have legs,
Exactly.
it's almost like you're using a completely different set of muscles.
Exactly. And like I said, I hate that it also has messed with my voice. I don't know if my voice will ever go back to normal. Um, there's nothing I can do about it. With this, the scratchiness. Because at first we thought it was caused from, the tube going down my throat, being put under and stuff, and surgeries. But we're not for sure anymore because it's been over a month since my last surgery, and I still have this scratchy voice. Hey, Paula. So we're not exactly for sure what happened, or if it just scratched it a little too much, and maybe it'll heal over time. It just needs a longer period of time. But up here where I'm at, they test you for C19 every 3 days. And thank goodness I'm in a facility where we've only had one the other week. No, about 2 weeks ago, we had one test positive, and he quarantined in his room for 10 days, and that was it. And they've tested the whole facility yesterday and said that nobody came back positive. So that's wonderful because it's really hard when you have visitors coming in and out and then people in their rooms too. It's really hard to keep, to kind of keep it under control. So, like I said yesterday, they tested everybody, and we are C19 free basically for right this second.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. Um, Diesel says it could really have irritated a nerve. It really could have. Like I said, I don't know what's up with my voice. It it's just scratchy, and it just is what it is, and there's nothing I can do about it. And like I said, something's also messed up my breathing to where when I talk, I lose breath real quick. But if I'm not talking, I breathe just fine. I have no idea what that's about. But I'm just glad to be alive. That's what I tell everybody. They're like, I can't believe you're not mourning your loss of your legs. I can't believe you're not depressed. I can't believe this. Roth, I'm seriously just happy to be alive, you know?
Hmm.
And I I just I'm not I don't know. I just have not grieved the loss of my legs at all.
Yeah, that is. I mean, everyone grieves differently, so I can imagine. Like, I've suffered my own losses, and I know I grieve in my own way, but it's never how you think you're supposed to grieve, or at least how you imagine you yourself would be grieving.
Yeah. Like I said, I thought I would be severely depressed and like bawling all the time, you know, which I did in the beginning cry a lot, but it wasn't because I was grieving my legs. It was because I was thankful I was alive and I was scared of what was going to happen to me because I ended up losing everything. So, um, I do know when I get out of here, me and my biological sister will be getting a place to stay. So y'all may end up hearing my nephews on here in a future video.
Hmm.
Um, because when I do finally get out of here, me and her have decided to get a house together. And that's the plan so far. Is me and her are going to get a house together. She's got three boys, a 16-year-old, a 12-year-old, and an 8-year-old. But the 16-year-old's not living with her right now. So it'll be the 12-year-old and the 8-year-old. And they're like little pranksters. And so they may end up being on one of my shows, or you may hear them in the background eventually. And then I have two sister-in-laws that are just like my sisters, just like biological sisters. And they have brought me anything I could need here. They have brought me a suitcase of clothes. They have brought me toothbrushes, toothpaste, mouthwash, soap, deodorant, a stuffed animal, which is a spider that sings the itsy bitsy spider. It's so cute. And just tons of stuff they've brought me. Books, you name it, they brought it. And I was like, oh my God, thank you, ladies. You know, you didn't have to do this. And they said, no, you're still our sister and we care about you. And that made me cry. I felt the love that day. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. So, you know, it's been good being here. Hey Curious Cat, how are you? Hey BFF. Hey Holly. Yes, Holly, I lost both my legs, sweetheart. I lost both of my legs past my kneecap. So we don't even know if I'm able to get prosthesis, whatever you call them yet. Because they're, like I said, they're cut up past my kneecaps, and so my little stumps are kind of little stumps. Hmm. So, Ross, let's talk
Yes.
about Samhain. What do you know about Samhain?
All right. So, this is everything that I know, both from
Hmm.
being a creature on the other side most of the time. Uh, is that Samhain was originally a day that just had a stronger magical flow before the veil went up. And it was a
Yeah,
day that was used to revere certain gods or certain pantheons, or also to uh, uh, celebrate your ancestors or your lost loved ones. And then when the veil came up, that day became even more important to a lot of pagans and whatnot, because it was the day that the veil was at its thinnest. Because especially on the first few generations that the veil went up, it was incredibly traumatic to a lot of beings, to a lot of people. So at that time, it was the closest people felt to getting back to normal, uh, that were still spiritually sensitive, or were still not, not just normalizing the Christian aftermath, I guess you could call it. Um, and it's still a varied holiday. It's never set down to one particular belief system, in
Mhm.
that it's still multiple groups using the same day to honor honor your deities, honor your ancestors, honor the spiritual side of things, your protectors, and just also for some people, just as a way of contacting the other side, saying, "Hey, we're still here. We're not gone."
Yeah. When I first started celebrating Samhain and stuff, ours was always geared toward our ancestors, and we always did the I don't know if some of y'all know what I'm talking about, but I always did the dumb supper, which is where you put out a plate that is all on its own. It's not filled with food or anything. And then everybody sits around the table, and the dummy plate could be sit at the table or sat by itself, away from the table, like in a different area. And then everybody would eat, but the issue was you weren't allowed to talk. You just had to, eat and enjoy in silence. And then you went around and you said what you were thankful for. And then you went around and you called your ancestor to the table. And that is where the dummy plate would come in. So your ancestor would sit where the dummy plate was and be able to enjoy and entertain with you. And it was all about ancestry. That's the way I celebrated. Yes, we did do like rituals, but like I said, having a dummy plate was one of them. Um, Doing a dumb supper is what we called it.
Mm.
But my group was always big into, like I said, the ancestry. We always had, something like let's see, Vault is Native American and European. I'm Irish and Scottish, I do believe. I do believe that's right. I know I'm Irish. I'm Irish in something. I don't know the other part right off the top of my head. So, we always made sure, like, to call out our ancestors. Like I would call mine that, went through what was it, the Great Famine, the potato famine or whatever.
Yep.
I would always bring that up. And, because I had a lot of family actually die during that time from starvation, literally.
Hmm.
And so I would call my ancestors from there, because that's pretty much the side of my family that I register with when it comes to ancestry is Irish, because my biological father's side, rest in peace, Daddy, um, he his side of the family was nothing but Irish. I'm talking about red-headed, short, green eyes, you name it. They look like little leprechauns, all of them. And then my mom's side, she had Native American, Irish, and something else. I can't remember what it is. So, like, I just got a double whammy of Irish in my blood. So that's what when, calling the ancestors or something like that, I always just say Irish
Mhm.
because that seems to be the majority of what I have in me and what I'm close to. Yeah, Troops, they look like Chase. Seriously. They, the thing about Chase is he's actually taller than my family. My family was rather short. So, what did you have rituals, Roth?
Um, for me, because I grew up in a mostly Baptist Christian
Mm-hmm.
household, uh, for me, I kind of had to relearn everything, and nowadays it's a very personal ordeal for me. Where nowadays, even though I have like almost limited, almost none right now, I haven't had any alcoholic beverages in a long while,
Yeah.
so I would essentially go outside to a spot where I think I'm got my privacy, speak to the deities, and on a separate uh, line, I guess you could say, speak to any ancestors that I need to talk to, and then I would essentially pour out the alcohol that I haven't really been drinking for a while, that I knew, even if I was going to drink it, is, give it to them. Um,
Yeah.
and so this year, I essentially poured out, I think almost all of it, except for like maybe I'll have to look to find out what's left. But I poured out what was left of like a little, uh, I guess almost like a sample bottle of tequila, little sample bottle of Crown Royal, and then for some reason I don't know who gave it to me, but I had an entire can of Budweiser that someone had given me, so I just put that in the fridge for a while, and then that night I went ahead and poured that out, uh, and then just say the prayer, say the ritual, speaking.
Yeah.
Um, and and then just go back inside, and more or less that was it. And then after that, because I didn't really have anything, because my part of the ancestry, and I guess you could say this lifetime, is Native American, and it's like heavily Native American on my mother's side.
Mm-hmm.
And I have met a few ancestors on my mother's side because they've appeared to me a few times.
Oh.
um, it's a very different thing for me. I'm not used to dealing with Native American ancestor spirits, but I'm still being very respectful, and I have essentially just kind of used my magic to kind of give them some things that they would want, even if it's not anything physical that I'm burying or burning or anything like that. It's just something that I can give to them that they'll be immediately able to use without that spirit physical transfer to have and take place.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
I had a question that a lady asked me the other day, and I think this is fitting for Samhain because the veil is very thin here. Um, she asked me what I thought about animals passing and their spirits coming back being seen. Now, I, for one, have seen my dog. Um, one time he was 19 years old when he died, and for that whole month, it was weird. It's like I kept imagining him being there, doing, if I would look down and look for him and he wouldn't be there, or stuff like that, and I would look for him to pick him up and put him on the bed, and then I'd remember, oh, he'd passed away. And oh, hi, Destiny. By the way, I seen you, girl. Um, but at the end of that month, I was standing in my room, and literally, he ran past my foot, and he wasn't see through. He was plain clear as can be, totally there. And when he ran past my leg, he ran about 3 more feet behind me, and then he disappeared for good. And it was weird because after that, I never looked for him again. It's like the issue of thinking, he's still around
Mhm.
disappeared. But like I told this lady, I said, all I can tell you is what I've experienced. And I've experienced having my dog come back and basically visit me and then disappear. What do you think? Do you think it was because the veil was so thin? Because he was born and died around Samhain.
There, I mean, it could definitely play a part. I've also seen pets and spirits of pets uh,
Mm-hmm.
still visit me. Like I even had a familiar at one time when I was still trying to refigure everything out, and she is kind of learning the ropes now. No longer, being around physically. She's now a spirit being kind of learning the ropes from some
Yeah.
of my other spirits on what to do as a spiritual familiar. But I've also seen pets of other dogs that I've known uh, appear, and I really had no spiritual connection to them, just other than they were dogs. I love all animals, and
Mhm.
sometimes they're showing that they are supporting or protecting or whatnot, even if they have no stake in whatever it is in themselves. They just they're that pets are that loyal.
I see somebody asked, what is 23andMe in chat? 23andMe is a thing that you do that takes I think it's saliva, and you send it in, and they test it for your, what am I thinking of, Roth? What is it? Genomes?
Yeah, genomes, and essentially it checks all of the markers in your DNA for characteristics that
Yeah,
match certain ethnicities.
yes. And they send it back to you and tell you like how much percentage is what. Now, this is what I was told. Take it with a grain of salt. I'm not saying I'm right, but I was told if you have a lot of European descent in you, go with Ancestry.com's DNA test. If you are a minority, go with 23andMe because they have more of your ancestry marked that way.
Hmm.
Now, that's just what I was told. Don't know if it's true or not. But like I said, I was told if you're of more European descent, go with Ancestry.com's DNA test because they have a lot of that marked and filed in that history. And like I said, if you're of a minority group, do 23andMe because they have more of your genomes marked and grouped and ancestry grouped.
Hmm.
So that's just what I was told. Now I don't know if it's true, but I can see how it could be true.
Yeah, I did notice that there was a comment earlier in chat that I want to go ahead and just kind of elaborate on, and then you can give your 2 cents. But they're asking about if you had experience, if I think it was Truth that asked if you had experienced the phantom limb stuff anyway. And what I wanted to say about that, because I think I told you about this whenever you were talking about it, was that all right. So when you physically lose any appendage, or even if it's just a finger, your soul does not lose that appendage. So in this case, like you lost your legs, but your soul is still completely whole. You still have legs as a spirit. Your body just lost them. So the psychosomatic side only does so much for this phantom limb because after a certain point, there's something in your very inner being saying, I still have legs, but it feels
Mhm.
weird because the meat suit doesn't.
Well, let me tell you what happened to me the other night. And I've had plenty of the phantom syndrome. I have that at least twice a day
Mhm.
so far. But the other night was the weirdest. I was laying here in bed and I was watching a movie with my roommate. My roommate's name is Miss Trina. Y'all, she is the most awesomest chick ever. She's leaving me in a week, and I'm not gonna have her as a roommate no more because she's getting out of here. And I'm so sad because she has been a godsend to me. She is the best roommate to ever have. And she's got a beautiful daughter and a beautiful grandkids, and they come see me when they see her. They'll bring me a plate of food when they bring her a plate of food. I'm talking about they are like family to me. They are amazing. Well, I was laying here watching a movie with Miss Trina, and it was getting kind of late, and all of a sudden my leg went to itching. And oh my God, did it go to itching bad? It was my calf that was itching on
Yeah.
my left side. The thing was, I don't have a calf because they cut my leg above the knee. I tried scratching everything around my leg, on my leg. Nothing would calm the itch that I felt on my calf that wasn't even there. I swear, Roth, I was about to claw my whole body up just to try to get this itch scratched.
Hmm. That's very trademark, honestly. That because on one level, your body is trying to uh, re, re, reconfigure itself, trying to say, "Wait, why are we not feeling this?" And usually, the most default sense of something not right is an itch.
Mm-hmm.
So your body, your brain is trying to figure out, okay, what wrong here? What is going on here? Uh, and it takes a while. That because
Mm-hmm.
just from hearing from others, it takes a while for that to become manageable rather than the excruciating stuff that's going on right now. Um, Another level is, and again, this is just me saying, hey, just try it, see if it
Mm-hmm.
works. Is
Mm-hmm.
just scratch where you feel the area that's itching is, even
Yeah,
if there's nothing there. It'll look weird. It'll look like you're just scratching at air, but
I
it
get you. I get you.
yeah, because um okay, so there are two kinds of phantom limb situations. There's where what you have, like Hea, where
Mm-hmm.
it's you spiritually are whole, but your body's missing something. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's the other kind, which more or less I have, which is your body it does not have as many appendages or as many things as your soul has. So there are times when I was swatting at a fly with spiritual appendage that I don't have physically because I'm
Okay.
uh and I can feel them constantly just because first practice as
Mm-hmm.
well as attuning the brain to realize, hey, this stuff happens, this is something that's actually going on, uh and at the same time still have that full control of, okay, I know that my soul is this, I know I am this, but my body just doesn't have that equipment right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, and sometimes just the best way to try and sometimes deal with it is simply to grab where you believe that phantom sensation is coming from and deal with it from there.
Mm. That's like on my legs. It at times can feel like they're hanging down and like my toes are touching the floor. But like I said, there is nothing, like I don't have kneecaps. So think about being cut above your kneecap and that whole rest of that leg gone. Like you can't even, you don't have even nothing hanging down.
Hmm.
And it literally, majority of the time, feels like I have a leg hanging down and my tiptoes touching the floor. And clearly that's not the case. But I have that sensation, ooh, oodles of times every day.
But yeah, and I would honestly say I would treat that as like a blessing or just a really good thing, a reminder that yeah, the bodies we're in are temporary, but you know, the soul is something else, and
Yeah.
that you could you would think of that as okay, the real me is still completely whole. I'm just having to deal with this temporary situation right now.
Hey, Nicole, how are you, love? I hope you're doing okay. Huge hugs.
Hmm.
But like I said, it's just it's weird, Roth. And what was weirder is I don't know if it's because it's closer to the veil, but it seems like I feel them more now around this past week, let's say, than I did before with phantom pains and phantom feelings. It's just it's weird.
Yeah. Um. It. The only thing I can say is with time you'll be able to understand it and manage it more, and probably hopefully get used to it.
Yeah.
Um. I will also say that depending on where you are, yeah, because the veil is not this constant field everywhere. There are places
Hmm.
that everyone has knows about where the veil is just naturally smaller, and sometimes during Samhain, that those parts of those areas where the veil is naturally thin just disappear almost entirely. Uh, so things like that might happen even more so, or uh, people in those areas, they notice a lot more activity during that time.
Yeah.
Uh, so I would also just think, just depending on who the person is and where they are, will also depend on how much they kind of deal with this and how much you might be dealing with this. Because you might just go to an area that's just naturally thinner, uh, and you'll probably feel it more or experience it more often than other areas.
Well, I know where you live, and state wise, let's put that away.
Yeah.
I know where you live, and you know where I live. I do believe.
Yes.
Do you think that we have more of a feeling of the veil being thinner, like because we're like a strip through the United States in the middle? Do you think we have more of the veil thinning in our areas than, let's say, the East Coast or West Coast?
Um, that could be said partly because of how many ghost dances and how many rituals Native Americans did when they were put on the reservations.
Hmm.
Because understandably, our ancestors were in a very tight spot. They were worried about being exterminated entirely because they were being first told, okay, we own this land now, even though beforehand no one owned any land. The thought was an alien concept to Native Americans, and then afterwards, them all more or less being penned up,
Hmm.
like prisoners of war the entire time, and said, you live here now. This is your land until we say otherwise. Uh, so they did a lot of rituals to try and contact their own ancestors, contact their spirits, contact everything that they knew that would potentially help them, and they did it for a long time. Uh, I I, I know that so that as well as generations of spiritually active people steadily and slowly chipping away at the veil.
Mhm.
I'm also a guilty party. Whenever I find a pillar that holds up part of the veil, I tend to say, okay, you're coming down now, just to help bring it down a little bit more.
Yeah,
But I think that this area is a bit weaker just because of how many rituals and how much magic was done
yeah,
in this area, in these areas that these Native Americans were set up at in these
yeah,
reservations, and that just kind of helped to make these areas almost like gashes that make the veils just kind of weaker, have wounds in it.
yeah. That's what I was wondering because I didn't want to say because of the Native Americans, because I wanted to see if you knew what I was talking about. Meaning,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and you hit the nail on the head because of the reservations being basically in between a line between us, kind of. Uh, just it made me wonder, like, is it thinner because of the area? Um, True said Lacan Roth. Do you think people may have been practicing crafts last night to make the veil even thinner?
I
Um,
would have been one of those people if I hadn't had other things to deal with, but
and I myself as well, if I had all my stuff to work with.
like just to answer your question there, Truth, there are a lot of us who are actively trying to influence the veil's fall, because for us it is an affront to everything that is of the natural world, which because I've said in other streams and whatnot that this world, this planet specifically, is the only one that has a veil over it. No other world has a veil anywhere. So being most of my lifetime being from on the other side, and only having spent lifetimes since the 14th century in bodies on this planet, yeah, it is a weird place. And for so many humans having to live in a post veil world, because there were plenty of generations of humans that were living pre-veil. um
Hmm.
it, I think the contrast between the rest of creation and this world is going to be startling for a lot of people, but for people like us, it's going to be like someone opened up a window and finally let the air in.
Yeah.
And so, because the veil, it restricts so much. It doesn't just restrict magic or portals or connections. It restricts almost everything, in including like the natural ebb and flow of life. Uh,
Okay. Here's what. Okay, this is my thing. Almost every. How can I say this? Mm, I was gonna say almost every planet, but that wouldn't necessarily be correct. But hell, we'll go with it. Almost every planet, let's say, has some sort of creature that comes from it. Think aliens, think different types of aliens. Some we know, some we don't know, blah, blah, blah. Do you think when the veil is thinner, like it's Samhain here, that those types of beings come through more often because it's
I, I
easier?
I would definitely not doubt it.
Hmm.
So, to answer, I guess, some other questions, why is there a veil
Hmm.
and where did the veil come from?
Hmm.
Uh, as to the where, there are two rough estimates, and I don't know because I was not around Earth to know during that time. Uh, I It was either at 0 BC, 0 AD, or a few years before that. And as to the why, because even I have been asking, what the hell's a veil here for? All it does is hurt. Uh, and the only answer that a lot of us have been given, even on the other side, was it's a testing ground. It's, you know, Jehovah's great experiment. Uh,
Hmm.
and what for? Eh, we have guesstimates, but I don't want to say any just because
Yeah.
it'll be rude for some of them, you know.
True says, what was the cause for it to be put on us? That's what makes me think this is all an experiment.
Because ah, sorry, I just um yeah, no, it there are humans on other planets that were naturally quote unquote seated there, and they have lived veil free their entire generations in existence. And this being the only world that the veil has been around and will ever be, because trust me, there have been many contracts that Jehovah made preemptively, knowing that no one else would ever want a veil on their world or even around their world, like even if it was just on a moon. Uh,
Big Hole says the veil is there so that the flesh doesn't enter into the spirit realm. Now, I can get on board with that too.
so for everywhere else, spirit and flesh are more or less the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has a true body that is theirs. Mine is currently held away under lock and key somewhere else. Uh,
Yours
until
is a dragon, isn't it?
yep, I am of the Azurana, yeah,
I thought so.
and it is currently being locked away. I still have sometimes I'm able to connect to it and just kind of look through the eyes for a second or two, but it
Mm.
it, it sucks really when you know what you really are, but you can't be it until
Yeah.
certain conditions are met. But yeah, everyone has a pure, true body, true body on the other side of the veil. It's just it's so interconnected with the spirit that people don't really recognize it. I think I talked to Truth and Bass about this. That this whole veil thing made it so that I'm gonna use an analogy here that I used before. Imagine you're at an airport and you have to go somewhere on a plane. You go and so when you go through security, you have to take everything off, all your clothes, all your items, everything. You put, and security puts it away. And so
Mm-hmm.
you go onto the plane with everyone else naked, completely naked, nothing with you, nothing on you. You have no clothes, no watch, no briefcase, nothing, and you're just completely naked. And when you go to on the other side of when your plane lands, you go out to the other airport, you have to re-get everything, clothes, everything. When you go on the other side away again, it's same thing. You have to leave everything behind, go naked
Mm-hmm.
on that plane with nothing, no baggage, no nothing, and onto the other side.
Oh, that's hmm.
And it is incredibly annoying for all of us
Heck.
because we have the bodies here are so much less efficient. Like on the other side of the veil, bathrooms are only really used for bathing, for just
Yeah.
cleaning up. Uh, the bodies are so equipped to deal with everything that you drink something, you don't have to worry about going to the bathroom later because you drank too much
Yeah.
water. The water just absorbs and you just use all of it.
Hey, Doug, how are you, honey?
Now, this doesn't account for like the basic animals and beasts on the
Yeah.
other side. They still have to do that because it's part of the natural cycle, even on other
Okay.
planets. It's just for sapiens, for those that are gifted the intelligence, the uh, self consciousness, the things that we all have
Mm-hmm.
as people, no matter the species. We don't have to do that because we're partly using that energy to fuel our magic and fuel our minds, fuel our spirit.
Sunny Sue, hey, beautiful. Glad to see you too. Oh my God, I'm glad to see everybody in chat. This makes my heart sing. And then I've got my new co-host, Roth, over here. I'm sure you guys know who he is. He is renowned for his readings. So, you know, if you ever need something, get with Roth.
Yeah.
But
Hmm?
I was gonna say, I wondered about, I wondered about, okay, aliens. Okay, I know this is gonna go take a left real quick, but I was wondering if the veil is thin and more aliens were allowed to be seen or to come into our airspace. You know, does the veil being thin make it easier for them to come over and come on in? Because then I wonder how many sightings are we going to have within the next two weeks or so due to the veil being thin and them saying, "Hey, let's go on in, let's have us a party."
I That has always confused me about their transportation because on the one hand they are physically using a craft, a ship, to go in and out of Earth's atmosphere. And I personally don't know how they deal with the veil.
Yeah,
Um, I, there's a lot of unknowns about how they have to deal with it, but I think that the veil helps with, well, uh, portal technology going to and from
yeah,
planets, because instead of having to travel light years
hmm,
upon light years through various galaxies and whatnot, making pit stops and whatnot, you can just open
yeah,
up a portal from one end to the other. And I think just to help a side question, the reason why you don't see veil or portals popping up everywhere is portals are treated a lot like transportation routes. You can only open so many at a time. They can be open. It's a regulated system, so that way there's not this complete chaos of just portals being opened all the time or going on everywhere to the point where it just becomes malarkey and just chaos.
yeah,
So, and I do not know how those who are in charge of more or less the interdimensional portal airspace control tower deal with it, but hey,
yeah.
more power to them as long as they're keeping their jobs doing. Uh,
Oh, and just so anybody knows, Truth and Chad is not talking to me or Roth, and there's nothing I can do about the fight that is going on in my chat. I don't. I'm on StreamYard. I can't put a stop to it. So it is what it is. So let's just leave it at that. But it is none of that is aimed at me nor Roth because we've done nothing wrong. Well, I don't know, except for maybe look good. We can't help our genetics. Uh, just saying. Speaking of which, I got my hair cut, Roth.
oh, nice.
It was down to my waist, but because I'm staying in these hospital beds, it was staying matted and thinning. So I cut it up to I had it. Well, they have a beauty shop here, and this is a nursing home rehab facility that I'm at right now. And I'm in the rehab part of it, but they literally have a beauty shop in this place. And you get one free haircut a month of your choosing, and you can get a shampoo anytime you want. And I went and got my hair cut up to my shoulders. I was tired of the dealing with it.
That's completely understandable.
So I can't believe I cut all of my beautiful hair off, but I did. And I figured new me, new time to grow out my hair again. So I have to send you a pic and show you how short it is. But it's okay. It just takes some getting used to. Because I'm used to just throwing my hair up in a bun. but now I get to wear it down, so it's weird. Does it feel freeing? Look at it. It actually does dizzle, very much so. It actually felt like I cut off a lot of, believe it or not, negative energy. And that's actually what I told the lady cutting my hair. I said she did the first big snip, and she goes, "Is that short enough for you?" And I was like, "Yes." And that actually feels like you just freed me from a lot of toxicity. She said, "Well, wait till you feel how you when we get done." And I'm telling you, like I felt like I was flying on cloud nine. But like I said, it also could be because the veil spinning at that point when I got it cut. This was right before Samhain, so it that could have played into it too.
That more than likely could, because hair cutting has also been used as like a ritual into itself,
Hmm.
kind of a way of separating yourself from a trauma or a stressful situation or just something in history that you just didn't want to deal with anymore. So someone would cut their hair
Yeah,
and do away with the hair, and however they got rid of the hair was how they got rid of their connection to that situation. So I think that also helped.
yeah. Oh my God, you guys, I'm in some serious pain. My wrapping on my left leg just came off, and it's stuck to my staples.
Ah,
Oh
that does
God.
not sound fun.
Oh no. I was trying to get it unstuck, but it's not gonna work. I'm gonna have to get a nurse here in a little bit.
Understood. Yeah.
Susan
Uh,
said, Susan said my hair was really long. Had
mhm.
to chop it up to chin, and shedding the toxicity is the perfect description on how that feels. Exactly. It felt like toxicity and drama in my hair. And when I cut it, it was like all that toxicity just fell away. It just fell away, and I felt free, and honestly I felt good. And it did, it wasn't also because a lot of the nurses and CNAs here were telling me I look good with short hair. It was just the way I felt. It felt good to chop all that hair off. And I
Mhm.
didn't realize how much toxicity, energy, and stuff that your hair can hold.
Yeah, yeah. I am waiting for a time when I can get my own hair cut because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not usually wearing it this long as I have, but
Yeah,
I just got some things to deal with first before I go out and do something like that. But yeah. Okay. So while I'm still on, do you have any other questions since it's now All Saints Day?
that's right, it is. Oh, Lady J, how are you? It's good to see you too.
Hello. Oh,
Works a lot. Hi.
okay, so I actually have a good topic: the transition between Samhain and Halloween.
Oh,
That I know of. Um, this happened during, I think, sometime like right in the early parts of the Dark Ages slash Middle Ages when they first started. This was like sometime after the fall of Rome. Um, because Christianity had really gotten popular across Europe. Again, it's a lot of Christianity trying to take holidays that were from different origins, like how the 25th of December was a lot of different holidays before Christmas even came around. Easter and all that. So with Halloween, it was the day was apart from Samhain a very large harvest festival because it was the last haul in that all the farmers would be bringing in to market and all that. Um, and so
Yeah. Sorry, my nurse
So
is
no,
coming in
okay,
for your breakfast.
yeah, I'm just wanting. Okay, but so while they were doing that, the kingdoms at that time and the church especially at that time were trying to rebrand that day, and during the whole thing, it was a bit of a rough transition period. So part of why All Saints Day exists is because of how the Harvest Festival was not gonna be just toppled over for something different. Because even during Christianity, even Christians at that time were using it as a means of speaking to Jehovah, speaking to their
Yeah.
ancestors, speaking to the relatives that had passed on. Um, and sorry, I'm just trying to collect the thoughts here. So, and at some points in history, I don't know exactly when uh, the the trick or treating nonsense started, but most of what trick or treating ended up being was not pagans specifically going around and harassing farmers and merchants and whatnot. So it was actually most of the time just other Christians that were rival farmers, rival merchants, or just atheists going around and using pagan masks and pagan costumes
Hmm.
to hide their identities and just blaming it on a group that was already being marginalized, heavily marginalized and villainized at the time. That was not fun. And so, at, and so at that time, the name of the holiday going from Samhain, in each area had their own name for it. But
Yeah.
after a while, the church, the Vatican Church, was trying to consolidate it all into one holiday that they could all agree on. So they called it the Hallowed Evening, uh, the Hallowed Evening before the Day of Saints. Uh,
Mhm.
and so when they did that, yeah, the masks and the costumes that were worn on Samhain were for those people that didn't want to be noticed by any dark spirits. So they would wear masks of goblins, goblins, elves, fae, demons, so that
Yeah.
way they would not be noticed, they believed. And most of the time it didn't work because we were mostly kind of laughing at the fact that they were all wearing masks of us. We thought it was cute. We thought it was just them paying homage to us. Imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. Um, so
I mean,
we weren't bothered by it. We liked it. We enjoyed it. We still enjoy it. So long as you're being respectful to the source material. Uh, and at but during the Halloween, after a time when the idea of going out in those costumes was it was falling out of favor for a little bit of a time, and I don't remember the specifics, but I know since so many people still liked going out in costume and celebrating the Harvest Festival and whatnot with festivities and including masquerades and all that, they eventually the church and the kings and all that place decide, okay, fine, you can wear that. And after a long while after that, the idea of going to people's houses asking for tricks, no, asking for treats or I'll play a trick, got more and more popular till eventually Hallowed Evening became Halloween because of that's how language works. Uh, and honestly, other than in extremely devout Catholicism and in the Vatican City itself, All Saints Day is now a separate holiday completely from Halloween because at some point it just did completely separate because the original aim was to just make Halloween the preamble to All Saints Day. Just make it, oh, this is
mhm.
Hallowed Evening before All Saints Day. because All Saints Day was the same day, because the veil is still relatively weak. It doesn't just go. It's not like a light switch. It just turn it off, turn it on.
Yeah.
And so All Saints Day was the day when all the Catholics would pray to the saints, pray to the archangels, pray to Jehovah, pray to Mother Mary, and it was a long course in history before it became what it is today. So, Halloween today is generations of pagan traditions mixed in with Christian acquiescence to those traditions, and just kind of turning it over to something that they would like, even though most of it kind of came back, and now it's a very secular holiday.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. Well, we've been on here for an hour and 10 minutes, so I'm going to call it. And Roth, thank you again for being my new co-host.
Yeah, thank you for giving me this opportunity, and it is still as much a new thing, I think, as anyone else. I'm still in that surprise mode of
Mhm.
it even happening, but I am glad to help. As I've said, I'm basically here as kind of an ambassador, as a means of letting everyone here know, hey, things are going to happen. You're going to be able to
Mhm.
talk to more than just your own people, your own species,
Oh,
at some point in
absolutely.
time. And hey, this is kind of your first introduction, I guess. When are we doing this again? H. Dizzle
It
asks.
will be very soon. I will say that because I'm ready to get back and rolling. And now that I have a new co-host, we will definitely get to going on this and get more shows up. But let us know what topic y'all want next. Let us know about it.
Mhm.
That way we'll know if we have to do some research or not, or
I
if we
mean, hell,
already know it.
I get it. I can even tell you that the history of my of my people. So
Oh, that would be interesting. I would love to hear that.
because
I say, I say we do that next.
okay,
Just let me figure out what day I can do it on. What night, day, night, doesn't matter. I'll figure it out. And I'll get with you, and we will definitely do it on that because everybody wants to know about Roth. So thank you for coming. Thank you, everybody in chat. And I will see you guys later. Bye,
have,
lovely.
have a good one. Blessed be.